Hey everybody, how are we doing today? Happy Friday. So let's talk about divine union. Let's talk about twin flames. Let's talk about soulmates, shall we? Soulmates. Oh boy, what a cluster. First off, many of us go into relationships for many reasons. One is the traditional reasons of the programming in which you feel a relationship has been taught to you on how it should be, and therefore you fall into that format. And lots of times you realize it's not what you wanted when you got in there. It was the illusion, the preparation, the attention, all that stuff that went into approval ratings in some ways from family, friends, whatever. You feel pressured into conforming into that relationship. Many of these relationships are based on not just the programming of the adults around you that have instilled this type of programming for relationships. It's also relationships that you go into based on an illusion of what a relationship should be based on things that you've observed as your childlike self. So you go into relationships that are either, well, let's just say good, bad, or indifferent. Let's just go there, okay, if we got to label it. But we fall into patterns of that as well, okay? So fast forward to the last decade, maybe, since we've been hearing soulmates. We come into this world needing to work out relationships within our soul family. And sometimes you can come together with somebody and it could be fire on fire. And once you have worked through that, you need to be willing to be you need to be willing to say and be saying enough. Learn my lesson. Okay. You have a marriage by spiritual love, and then you have a marriage by what we call the law, and then we have till death do you part, and so on and so forth, which was a programmed thing because separated people are a financial drain on the system that's been created. Okay. And so you stay out of guilt. You stay out of guilt, out of obligation. I would fail if I did this, but yet if a car failed on you, job failed on you, friendships failed on you, everything else you would bail like hell. But for some reason, people feel like they gotta tumble over like a tumbleweed of suffering and be in there and really tear each other down in not allowing each other to grow by just saying, this isn't working. Okay? Now let's go into the twin flame thing. First, they're saying, let me finish up with the soul thing. You have many different soul family people that you can have relationships with. So if you're in a low vibe, you're not going to, and I use this word as in frequency, of this illusion that I just talked about. If you're in all of this, you're going to pick somebody right around there. When you raise your vibratory systems, this isn't going to work anymore, and you're going to find people on a different vibratory system. So when one thing isn't working and you have the courage, and yes, the courage to say, this is not working for me. This is not in my spiritual interest. I do not want to continue to do harm down this road. You are better off there. I'm better off here. Let's be as amicable as we can possibly be. Respectful. Sometimes it just doesn't work that way, as we know. But that's neither here nor there. So that's why a lot of times first marriages don't work because we go into them with that programming. Now let's go into the twin flame thing. I'm going to tell you this whole twin flame illusion is delusional if you think your twin is walking on this earth. It is where you have a flip-flop. One stays on the spiritual side, one stays here. Okay? And so this whole thing of people teaching you to look out there for your twin flame. Oh my God. Look, look, look. Because you're never going to be satisfied with what you have in what you have. And you're not going to work through what you have with what you have when you're always like, yeah, it's out there somewhere. Oh my God, it's out there. It's out there. I'm gonna sift through and swipe left or right for 84 billion people. Eventually I'll find it. Not in this lifetime. Like that. Okay? The divine union is when you can divinely connect with that higher self and recognize that your identical mirror self is there walking with you through this lifetime, helping you make all of the choices to meet the people and go through the experiences and the lessons that you chose to come through, good, bad, or indifferent. Okay? Now, let's fast forward to now. So, many people are realizing in this moment in time their relationships are not working. Their jobs aren't working, relationships aren't working. And because sometimes we're blood, we have a tendency to really hang in there through thick and thin when we need to understand that these people have all come through in this surrounding of your column of light and you surrounding their column of light. And sometimes you just need to take your column and just go over there and realize there needs to be detachment. Okay? And it is what it is. You don't keep trying. You just accept that it is what it is. If you can understand it from a spiritual bird's eye view and work with your higher self and your twin. So, we're being called now, if things are not vibrating and we are really doing our work to ascend, we cannot have all of these relationship albatrosses, these anchors of dead weight pulling us down. We have to say, you need to go on your path, I need to go on my path. And unfortunately, living under the same roof isn't working. And when you have the courage to accept that and take action with that, I can promise you, Spirit will begin to put relationships in front of you that match this vibratorial frequency that you're currently in and will continue to go in. All right? And so you will become more aligned with a more compatible frequency and the people within that compatible frequency. And then you can pick and choose who you'd like to have relationships with, friendship, intimate, etc., etc. Now, I got on this boat early, 2009, 2010. 2006, I was told to sell the big house, move away from a demographics in which I lived. I did that. A couple years later, marriage fell apart. And I was told we were at the byways and we were done. So as much as my 3D self was like, I don't want to do this. My spiritual self was stronger than that. And it said, it's got to be done. You don't understand it in this moment, but it must be done. Okay? And that is because I saw the vision of what was coming when we got into the 2020s, that twin flames, your twin soul cellular self, were going to become more into physical form. And also the more work that I did to raise my frequencies and do my shadow work and trust and accept through love, then frequencies of compatibility in soul families would now begin to gather. Didn't know it was going to take me over a decade to get there, just friendships. Okay? Many of us have had to isolate. Many of us had to go it alone. And some people don't do as well alone because they always think they have to look outside of themselves. And I was thinking about sometimes the way we raise our children, and everything is scheduled and everything is gotta do. And they start to become adults and they don't do so well because they don't have an agenda of being told what to do. Excuse me. So they flounder a little bit. So they're lacking the skills of self-soothing, the self-acceptance that the me, myself, and I in this heart space is enough. And to learn to self-love. That's where the self-soothing comes in. And then you're not so easily following the crowds of what you need to do, the programming of that. Don't be alone. Get out there and socialize. Then you get out there and socialize. And you're like, I really just don't want to be here. I don't know why I forced myself to do this. I'm A-okay at home. I'm not being a hermit. I'm just allowing the calming of my nervous system. I'm allowing the column of messages, my love to expand. And until I get that nice and strong and steady, then I can take it out. And then I can play with it out there. Yeah. So there is a lot going on in relationships right now. Understand that if you keep telling everyone that you love all about what's happening, that eventually they're going to make the changes necessary for you to get along with them and then with you. They need to figure all this out on their own. You need to be in control of your energetics and physicality here. There are a lot of people that are out there going, I can't wait for all this to be exposed so that my family will finally treat me right. Stop being a victim in any of your relationships. Stop. People are going to see I was right, if I stick around here long enough. But that's not what's happening, because what's happening now is we're seeing the spiritual community fall the frick apart because so many people have been distorted in the stories that they've been telling you. And you've been so busy listening to these stories that you're like rolling Velcro, right? And you're just full of all these threads and cotton and crap. That's what your Velcro is full of. So take that Velcro coat off, that blanket off. Get it off of it. Detach from all the stuff. You can't salvage the Velcro that you had on you. You can't. You just can't. And be willing to get raw and vulnerable with the me, myself, and I of it, and have that hard talk. And I know a lot of you aren't going to do it now because the holidays are coming up and you feel like you got to be, all rosy for everybody. Well, that's up to you. That's up to you. Maybe if you do need to be all of that and have that facade going because of commitments and obligations, I get it. No judgment here. Go through it, but go through it and ask your higher self, your twin self, your soul family, your guide team soul family to let you see with new eyes. to let you, and I mean see through the soul, through the heart, through the spirit, of all of it. Because if you really want to get in divine union, you got to do that with the me, myself, and I of it. And then this soul family that is in that frequency and that twin that's in that frequency will be much more compatible in any other relationships. But you have to work through the ones that you've attracted to you now. That means children, all kinds of things that might feel like, well, no, my duty is to be responsible for them till, whatever. No, you got to detach. You got to let everybody else learn their lessons the way they're going to learn them, whether it's visceral or whatever. You've got to learn yours, because when you raise yours, you raise the consciousness of the collective. Remember that. So if you keep staying in your swamp that you've given permission to create, you're feeding the swamps of the collective. Fact, my friends, fact. Drain the swamp, drain the swamp. All the things that do not serve you and your spiritual missions that you came here. There's missions and purposes. And if things aren't working for you, step away from them. Okay, they're saying enough. Learn how to self-communicate, self-soothe, self-love. If I can help you on this journey, my gosh, reach out. Reach out. Once you become a client, you basically have access to me all the time, because I get phone calls I don't charge for. I listen, I contribute, because that's my God self duty in my connection with my vibratory love. Okay? Have a fantastic day. Remember, you're walking, living, breathing, loving light. Own it. Own it. Respect it. Step away from what's not respecting that. Release the permission slips that you've allowed this energy to come to you. Whatever it is. Whatever it is. Now is the time, my friends. Now is the time. All right? Please like, subscribe, and share. Bye.